The scene opens with the protagonist introducing himself as Mao, who claims to be the king of a labyrinth that feeds off people's emotions by creating dungeons. He then speculates about what people imagine when they hear the word dungeon, assuming it might evoke thoughts of a heinous demon or death awaiting at the end of despair and fear. He confirms that these ideas are true, but reveals that the dungeon he created is a city, which neither represents despair nor fear. Instead, it uses hope and smiles as fuel, a place where demons and humans coexist, named Avalon. Mao then takes the story back in time a little. He is alone, sitting on the floor, and seems unfamiliar with his surroundings. Before identifying the place, he doesn't even know who he is. Just then, a lady enters to see that Mao has finally awakened. The lady, with long hair and a bold figure, is accompanied by a demon who looks quite intimidating. The demon has long hair, pointed teeth, long nails, and bright eyes, and he roars at Mao. In the next moment, the demon leaps at him, but by sheer luck, Mao successfully evades the attack. Mao is terrified, and the demon looks even angrier this time, roaring louder. Amid his nervousness and fear, Mao manages to use magic to create a gun. With newfound courage, he shoots the demon and successfully defeats him. Mao is still in shock from what just happened. Afterward, the lady explains what create means. It is a skill that materializes objects from memory, proportional to the item's weight. She clarifies that one cannot create anything alive or coded in magic. Mao, still in a fragile state, is surprised by the explanation and feels a bit nostalgic, although he still doesn't know who he is. The lady, however, declares that he has passed some sort of test. She congratulates him, marking the birth of a new demon king. She gives him the name Procel and introduces herself as the demon king of beasts named Marcosius, or Marco for short. She is one of the demon kings. Procel wonders about the title of Demon King and asks Marco if she knows him. She denies it and clarifies that she was simply informed by higher-ups. She promises to give him a quick demonstration of what it means to be a demon king. They proceed into a room where a crystal is placed on a table. Procel wonders if this is somehow related to him. Marco instructs him to hold it, warning him at the same time not to touch it carelessly. She introduces the crystal as the dungeon's core and the source of her power. She explains that if it is destroyed, she won't die, but will lose all her power. Procel then asks if he has his own crystal. She replies negatively, but reassures him not to worry. In the next moment, she takes out a book and explains that demon kings lead demons, create dungeons, and reign over them. Moreover, they lure humans into their dungeons, harvesting strong emotions and the power of life. This is the role of a demon king. Marco also tells Procel that until he leaves the nest, she will act as his parent and support him for the year ahead. This marks the beginning of Procel's dungeon creation journey. They start with forming demons, the guardians of dungeons, and stealing emotions and life forces from outsiders, essential elements for a dungeon. Demons are brought to life by combining two types of metal that can be made by a demon king once a month. The type of demon spawned depends on the attributes of the metals. For example, Marco's beast metal spawns a demon that rules over beasts, while fire metal spawns a fire-governing demon, and so on. However, Procel's create magic allows him to change the metal's attributes to his liking. Furthermore, he can choose what kind of demon to spawn from countless possibilities, but the drawback is that he needs 3 metals instead of 2, which makes it challenging. After learning this, Marco is shocked and excited that Procel can create demons with magic worth 3 metals. She enthusiastically decides to get him medals from the other demon kings as well. Procel calms her down, explaining that while he can spawn a much stronger demon than normal, he must be deliberate in his choices. Marco then demands that he create an auspicious one. Procel uses his create skill, combining beast and fire metals. By chanting his desires, he creates a spark ball. He channels his intentions into the creation, seeking a new life. His answer to the spark ball is that he wants a friend. Ever since becoming a demon king, he has been haunted by loneliness. Therefore, he wishes for a friend to grow alongside him and be with him forever. In the next moment, a girl appears, a celestial fox who is S-ranked. The girl makes puppy eyes at Procel and suddenly hugs him, calling him Daddy. Procel is shocked to be called Daddy because it feels strange to him, as he had only wanted a friend. Marco makes fun of Procel, stating that his deep consciousness must have desired this. The celestial fox shouts at Marco, telling her that she is a Tenko and does not have a name yet. She asks Procell to give her one. When the girl asks for a name, Procell is about to suggest one, but Marco immediately covers his mouth and stops him. She explains that the first 3 demons a demon king names become contracted demons, special beings connected to their souls, and this cannot be undone. She concludes that it is unwise to carelessly name a demon. Procell agrees with her and decides to name the celestial fox once he learns more about her power and personality. The celestial fox agrees to the deal and determines to try her best until Procell approves of her. After that moment, Marco suggests that since Procell has a partner, he should enter the world of chaos, a place where low-level demons spawn infinitely. Marco further tells him that he can test the celestial fox's power there, and it should also help them gain some battle experience. They both then jump into battle. Tenko performs her gold dance, which is praised by Procell. Procell uses his creation skill, confident that he cannot lose to Tenko. A demon appears in the battle. Tenko suddenly notices the weapon in Procell's hand, is attracted to it, and desires one too. But from afar, she adds that it does not fit her, so she reveals that she wants something that goes ka-bang. Procell tells her that he thought about it before testing her, but acknowledges that it is an amazing weapon. He does not know the details, but understands how to use it, and feels that it should be sufficient. Afterwards, Marco tells Procell that she will go back first, and if there is anything he needs, he can ask Tenko. She also suggests that he start thinking about what kind of dungeon to create soon. Procell looks at Marco and reflects that once he creates a dungeon, Tenko will have to fight for her life against outsiders. He declares that he created Tenko as a friend, not as a pawn for the dungeon, and feels he must design a dungeon where these children do not have to battle. Marco is amazed by his perspective. She finds Procell mysterious, but recognizes that his qualities are sufficient, and she believes that in a year, he will likely become a fine demon king. For now, everything seems to be progressing smoothly. In the next scene, Procell opens his eyes and introduces himself as Demon King Procell, born as Demon King Mao, the master of a dungeon that feeds off human fear and despair. Tenko is sleeping beside him, and he still does not know what kind of dungeon he wants to make. His wish is to create a dungeon where Tenko can make friends, a safe place that does not hurt anyone. When he comes out of the room, he sees Marco cooking something, and she tells him that breakfast is ready. She adds that since she is his parent, she thought of doing something a guardian would do. Procell glances at the pan, which is burnt, and asks her if this is some kind of punishment. Marco finds his remark rude, while Tenko reminds Marco that she had already told her not to attempt something she is not accustomed to. After that, breakfast is served. At the table, Marco asks Procell, since it has been about a month since he awoke, how his progress has been so far. He replies that the upcoming meeting where all Demon Kings will gather, the evening party, is going to be focused on building power beforehand. Marco agrees, adding that the evening party's main purpose is to present the 10 new Demon Kings, including Procell himself. She warns him that if he is underestimated, he will become a target. She also tells him that if he wants to protect Tenko, he needs to demonstrate his strength there. When Marco notices the skeleton accompanying Procell, she guesses that he has a plan involving his skeleton army. Procell explains its backstory. Following Marco's suggestion, they had gone to the Crimson Cave to gain more battle experience for Tenko and himself. When Procell and Tenko entered the Crimson Cave, Tenko seemed scared. However, this was a dungeon without a Demon King. The crystal, the source of power for Demon Kings and the core of the dungeon, remained there. Procell understood that a Demon King is the caretaker of their dungeon's crystal. If the crystal is shattered, the dungeon and all demons within it will perish. However, if only the Demon King disappears, the crystal goes out of control and continuously spawns demons, just like the Crimson Cave. The late Demon King of Fire had been the master of this cave, but Marco, who had been an acquaintance, took responsibility for maintaining it, demonstrating her strong sense of duty. While in the Crimson Cave, Tenko suddenly shouted at Procell to run. She was shocked to see that the weapon had broken. Procell inspected the weapon and realized they had been using it excessively without proper maintenance. Tenko declared there was no time to assess the situation and demanded a new weapon immediately, expressing her frustration. Procel calmed her down, explaining that their main reason for coming to the Crimson Cave was to acquire a skeleton army and assess the number of skeletons there. Tenko, frightened by the skeletons, tried to run away. Procel called after her, reminding her that the mission also involved testing the skeletons' practical uses. The skeletons held their weapons, and the battle began. After some time, Procel sighed, hopeful that this plan would work. Even though the skeletons were low-level monsters that didn't require metals, he believed they could be effective if combined with the weapons he created. The skeleton army was scattered across the area, but Procel successfully commanded them to follow him. That was how he brought them back from the Crimson Cave. The scene then shifts back to reality at the breakfast table, where Marco, surprised, asks how Procel even survived given the challenges. She points out that the skeleton army wouldn't function properly without a monster capable of commanding them precisely. She then decides to give him earth metal, which has good affinity with the undead. Procel remarks that, considering the create metal that appears once a month, he now has 2. Since synthesizing with create requires 3 metals, they still need 1 more from somewhere. All of a sudden, Procel notices Tenko, who has her head down on the table. When he calls her, she asks if he is going to make more of those scary things. She clarifies that she doesn't like them and adds that Procel and Marco keep using complicated words while talking, which she can't keep up with, making her feel kind of lonely. After hearing all that, Marco shouts at Tenko, but Procel interrupts her. Later, the 3 of them step outside, where Procel begins talking about an imitation metal. It is a fake version of the original metal he can only create once a month. He mentions that although the quality of the metal and the rank of the monster created from it drop by 1 rank, it requires a huge amount of magic. However, as long as he has sufficient magic, he can produce it without limit. He decides to give it a try, aiming for a human imitation rather than a create imitation. He guesses that the create imitation might take on the attribute he unconsciously changed in the past, which makes him reflect on when he created Tenko. He realizes that his deep desire for a friend must have unconsciously influenced the creation of Tenko as a human. In any case, Procel tells Tenko to cheer up because what he is making now will be her little sister. For the creation, Procel uses the skills Create, Human Imitation, and Human Synthesize. Moments later, another being appears, a lady, an elder dwarf named Heseraint. Marco is surprised to see an elder dwarf rather than an undead. Procel explains to Marco that he wants a master blacksmith to clean and modify weapons and maintain them without relying on his create skill, so he plans to deal with the undead later. The elder dwarf stands still, but suddenly there is a commotion, and Marco, Procel, and Tenko lose their balance. Tenko quickly runs to the elder dwarf and shakes her hand. She enthusiastically declares that she will call her Elle from now on. Tenko introduces herself to the elder dwarf, claiming she is her elder sister, and clarifying that as her sister, Elle will have to listen to her. Out of nowhere, the elder dwarf pulls out a weapon, shocking Tenko. It is a firearm that shoots metal balls using gunpowder. The construction is simplistic yet profound. Tenko is about to claim it as hers, but before she can, Elle points the weapon upwards. Elle addresses Procel, stating that she understands her position and declares, "A strong weapon makes more weapons." She adds that the weapon has bolstered her imagination. Marco, still in shock, comments to Procel that he has created yet another peculiar character. Procel responds that he thinks enthusiasm is a good thing. In the next scene, Procel introduces Elle, explaining that she is stronger than he anticipates. Ever since she is created, she stays in her room and rarely comes outside. The next thing he knows, his area is filled with golems that Elle has created. Marco and Procel try talking to her occasionally, but Elle always acts indifferent and warns them not to interfere with her work. They both find her very strange. Later, Marco asks Procel what day it is. He is surprised by the question, but answers that it is the day of the evening party where the Demon Kings gather. Marco, noticing Procel in formal wear, remarks that she has carefully designed the outfit so he won't be looked down on by the older Demon Kings or his fellow rookies. She then asks him how the outfit looks. Procel replies that it is a bit much and somewhat difficult to move in. Marco, surprised by his comment, exclaims her disbelief. Procel quickly corrects himself, saying it isn't too uncomfortable, and adds a compliment. Marco seems overjoyed by the compliment and even starts humming a tune. Tenko, watching them both in their new outfits, asks for a dress of her own. Marco rudely replies that there is no need for a demon to have one and ignores her after that. Moving forward, Marco asks Procel about Elle. He replies that she is the same as usual and adds that he doesn't think she will join them. Tenko jumps into the conversation, claiming that both Marco and Procel don't understand Elle. Procel agrees, acknowledging that Tenko has been visiting Elle recently. Just then, a loud blast shakes the area, and a gaunt figure emerges from the wall. Everyone immediately realizes it is Elle. She apologizes to Procel for the delay and presents her finished work. She announces that the modifications to the desired weapons, increased production, and maintenance are all complete. Procel asks Elle in shock if she has worked on everything in the box in such a short amount of time, or if that is why she has stayed in her room the whole time. Elle warns him that it is not everything. Procel notices the weapon in Tenko's hand and asks her if it is the shotgun he created. She replies happily that Elle has modified it for her. She starts counting its qualities in a childish way, saying the 4-gauge is super cool. Moreover, it has a lot of mithril, and in the end, she concludes that it is truly amazing. Elle introduces the gun, naming it EO-01S. She explains that she used Procel's shotgun as a base, increased its power with a 4-gauge bullet, and used mithril to make the body lighter and harder to handle the load. Furthermore, she adds a handy magazine to its easy-to-use semi-automatic mechanism as a bonus. Procel asks her what that means. Elle simplifies her explanation, saying that it can repeatedly fire bullets capable of blowing people up. Procel is left stunned. Elle then claims it is her best creation, utilizing all her knowledge. She urges Procel to examine it more closely, but quickly realizes she has gone a little overboard and apologizes. She admits she got carried away because she cannot help herself when it comes to weapons. Procel calms her down and reflects that he has misjudged her. He realizes it is her first time and that she is simply trying to meet his expectations. He kneels down and praises her for doing a great job, making Elle very happy. In her excitement, she accidentally calls Procel Daddy. Procel is amazed, and when Tenko hears this, she asks for confirmation. Embarrassed, Elle denies it and quickly shifts attention back to the weapon, calling it quite dangerous. After that, Procel declares that he is ready for the evening party. He has done everything he can, and now there is nothing left but to enjoy it. Marco wishes him a good time. Procel then admits that he views the evening party as a great opportunity to gather hints from older demon kings about dungeon making. He also thinks it could be a chance to connect with the 9 other new demon kings who awakened at the same time as him, as they share similar circumstances. He hopes they might become lifelong friends. Marco appreciates his optimism. Suddenly, Tenko rushes ahead of the others, but when she turns back, she is astonished. In the next moment, she is covered in bandages. Elle and Procel run to her in concern, and Procel comments that Tenko is still too naive. All of a sudden, Procel senses an intimidating presence. He feels a magical power similar to Marco's. Looking around, he sees several figures and realizes they are Marco's contracted demons, Arachne Amorite, Tartarus Kyriami, and Lion Griffin Goroguna. He understands that this is what the evening party entails, children of the stars gathering, shining, and showcasing themselves. He hears an irritating voice announcing that this is the official invitation to the evening party. Procel, Elle, Tenko, and Marco continue moving forward and pass by a stunning garden under a bright blue sky. Marco suddenly asks Procel to look behind him. When he turns, he realizes they have arrived at the venue for the evening party, a grand stage set by the creator of the Demon Kings. They now stand in front of the Demon King Palace. Procel understands this setting better as Marco explains it. She reminds him that a Demon King invites prey into their dungeon and feeds on emotions like fear and despair. A gathering of such beings could never be normal. She warns that the attendees may come with threats, just as they have seen, especially toward those who appear too relaxed. Although it is called an evening party, this palace is actually a hunting ground. Marco concludes that this event is Procel's crucial first stage. Inside the Demon King Palace, the evening party venue is abuzz with activity as numerous attendees gather. Procel meets another Demon King, expresses his delight at being able to speak with Procel, and presents his Death Imitate medal as a token of acquaintance. In response, Procel replies that he is honored to meet him as well, and offers a Flame Imitate medal in return. Marco observes this and praises Procel for doing well. However, Procel remains cautious. He knows that despite the polite facade, the murderous intent from the other Demon King is genuine. The other Demon King seems curious about Procel's real power, his attribute, whether he is useful, how to eliminate him if he is an enemy, and other such calculations. Procel wonders how things might have gone if Marco had not put him on edge beforehand. However, he notices that Marco is apparently enjoying herself, as this place seems to be a meetup for old friends. Procel then tells Marco that he has brought the skeletons, along with Elle and Tenko, to accompany him just as she suggested, but it seems they are not attracting much attention. Marco replies that it is fine, comparing it to fine dining. She further explains that inexperienced individuals cannot discern between high and low-level monsters. Moreover, she states that those who look only at the skeletons and laugh are inferior, inexperienced individuals, but she warns Procel to be wary of those who can see through Elle and Tenko's true identities. Marco cautions Procel that his creatability is very attractive and warns that there will be those who aim to destroy his crystal to steal his power. She emphasizes that it is now the time to identify who is an ally and who is not. She also explains that any Demon King who destroys another's crystal gains the ability to make their metals. Realizing the harshness of this reality, Procel comments that the world is much harsher than he expected. Seeing his tense expression, Marco tells him not to worry, assuring him that she will support him until he becomes independent. Amidst all this, Tenko voices her doubts about Marco. She questions whether Marco is trustworthy, suggesting that if Marco were to turn hostile, she would be the most troublesome opponent since Procel is always with her. Procel is surprised by Tenko's words. Marco, overhearing this, remarks that Tenko is clever. She calms them down, assuring them there is nothing to worry about. Marco explains that a Demon King chosen to act as a parent fundamentally would not betray their child. Procel doesn't fully understand, but decides to trust Marco's reassurance. Marco suggests that he continue enjoying the evening party. As they proceed, a girl passes by Procel and the skeletons. She turns back, laughing, and comments that having a skeleton attendant must mean the Demon King in question is miserable. She adds that she cannot imagine anyone in the same generation as the Demon King of Wind, Strauss. Hearing the term same generation, Procel asks if she is also a new Demon King. Strauss examines Elle and Tenko, seemingly unable to discern their true nature. She assumes they are low-ranking demons, a C-rank Yako and a dwarf, and calls them pathetic and useless. She then shows a wind imitate metal and says she will bless Procel with it, as they are of the same generation. Using her magic, she demonstrates her contracted demons, treating them like her children. Marco silently observes Strauss and notes that although she appears inexperienced, her magical power reveals she is the real deal. Marco wonders how Procel will handle this. On the other hand, Procel tries to stay calm despite being boiling with anger at Strauss's insults toward Elle and Tenko. He resolves to maintain composure. Thanking Strauss for the medal, Procel offers her one in return, but she refuses, stating that she doesn't need it and that her blessing is enough. She goes on to mock Procel again, claiming that using his medals would create more failures like his demons. Strauss's taunts push Procel over the edge. Stepping forward, he challenges her to repeat her insults. She obliges, once again calling his demons failures and even labeling Procel himself a failure. Just then, an announcement rings out, introducing the Children of the Stars, the new Demon Kings. The announcer declares that they will now compete in a war, aiming to destroy each other's cores. The first round pits the Demon King of Wind, Strauss, against the Demon King of Create, Procel. Strauss appears enthusiastic, proclaiming that she will prove who the real failure is. The scene shifts to a waiting room, a white, empty space, where Procel, Elle, Tenko, and Marco gather. Marco is furious. She rants that this is absurd, since Demon Kings are not supposed to create dungeons before becoming independent, and there is a supposed rule of non-interference with another Demon King's dungeon. She is outraged that the war is being used as entertainment. She explains that, to her shock, every Demon King must participate in at least one battle, all because of the creator's boredom. Procel tries to calm Marco down, noting that it is too late to change anything. Marco eventually explains that the battles will use pseudo-crystals, which are not real, and that the Demon King of Time will restore whatever is lost during the games. She decides to treat it as a simulation for the inevitable real wars to come. Procell agrees, encouraging her to stay strong for the challenges ahead. Marco hugs Procell from behind, admitting that she had heard rumors from the older Demon Kings. She then asks if he has come up with any ideas for his dungeon. Procell replies negatively, but thinks to himself that he has a complete blank slate. His initial intention is not to fight. Rather, he plans to create something unconventional, not what one would typically call a dungeon. However, he quickly dismisses this idea, realizing that Strauss will definitely come at them with full force. He doesn't want Elle or Tenko to get hurt, nor does he want to lose to someone who insulted them. This leads him to the decision that a combat-based dungeon is necessary. He resolves that he must do it. Procell begins explaining the game he envisions. In this game, only one level with 3 floors is allowed. He notes that while more complicated dungeons are more robust, they also consume significantly more magical power, especially if they are designed to be glamorous. In his current state, he is capable of creating many things, but building a highly complex dungeon would be a waste of time. He is unsure which combination would best suit his current combat prowess. He considers his options. Elle and Tenko's abilities are impeccable, but the rest of his resources are less reliable. He has a skeleton army that follows orders without thinking, Elle's golems, and the mass-produced guns Elle has created. Additionally, he has his new Create medal, made specifically for this game, as well as the Death and Wind Imitate medals he received at the evening party. The problem, however, is that these elements don't harmonize well. The golems could serve as defenders, but they are too slow. Procell entertains the idea of stuffing enemies into narrow hallways to limit Strauss's movements, but he realizes this would only buy him time. Frustrated, Procell finds himself stuck, unable to come up with a solid plan. Marco approaches him and asks if he has thought of anything. Seeing his state, she is shocked and scolds him, telling him to take things more seriously. In the next moment, Procell reveals his dungeon to everyone. In the following scene, the Demon King of Creation, Procell, and the Demon King of Wind, Stolas, prepare to participate in a pseudo-war as part of the evening party's entertainment. The battle is about to begin, and the rules are explained. Each Demon King must create a 1-level, 3-floor dungeon in the white space. Victory is achieved by either destroying the enemy's crystal, located in the depths of their dungeon, or defeating the opposing Demon King. The use of demons to invade and defend dungeons is the key to success. As the teams take their positions, Tenko observes Strauss's dungeon. She notes how flashy it is, reflecting Strauss's personality. While Procell's dungeon may appear simple on the outside, she believes its simplicity is its strength. However, she is concerned by the sheer number of demons in Stolas's army. Over 100. Marco explains that Stolas's wind ability allows her to create clones, which greatly increases her numbers. Tenko asks Procell about his plan. Procell confidently tells her to wait and watch. On the other side, Stolas mocks Procell's dungeon, calling it trashy and comparing it to him. An announcement declares that both sides are ready, and the green flag is raised to start the war between the new generation of Children of the Stars. As soon as the war begins, Stolas uses her teleportation magic. She notes that either destroying the crystal or defeating the Demon King results in victory. Stolas claims that she isn't alone. Her wind ability allows her to send her spirit to command from the front lines. She calls on her companion, Rosalite, who informs her that their preparations for the attack are complete. Stolas asks about Procell's team, and they notice that Procell and his forces show no signs of movement. Rosalite comments that fighting inside the white space is not allowed. This triggers Stolas to decide on destroying the crystal directly, believing Procell has no intention of defending his dungeon or attacking hers. She wonders if Procell lacks motivation or if he is overly confident in his defenses. Regardless, she and Rosalite send half their clones and main troops to invade Procell's dungeon with the intention of overwhelming it. Stolas enthusiastically declares that they will crush Procell's defenses and ruin him. As Stolas approaches Procell's dungeon, she is shocked to find the entrance extremely narrow, allowing only a few demons to enter at a time. Despite this setback, she orders her troops to invade. Rosalite communicates with the demons inside via telepathy, assuring Stolas that reinforcements will be sent as needed. Stolas confidently predicts it is only a matter of time before Procell's crystal is destroyed. However, Stolas and Rosalite grow uneasy when they receive no reports or contact from the demons inside Procell's dungeon. Stolas asks if the demons have been defeated, but Rosalit dismisses the idea, stating that there would have been some form of contact even in that case. As Stolas moves forward, Rosalit suggests bringing the second squad for safety. However, Stolas feels something is strange. While advancing, she reflects that Procel must be a weak demon king, someone who cannot even defeat her spirit form. On the other side, Procel notices that Stolas has just entered his dungeon. Tenko asks if he can see her spirits. Procel replies that he cannot, but because the dungeon is connected to his consciousness, he is able to detect her movements. After some time, Stolas stops and stands still, completely surprised to find a straight pathway made of rocks. She notices that the low ceiling and narrow corridors are incompatible with her demons. But something else bothers her. Where are her demons? As she moves further in, she sees a golem standing in the distance, holding something. Fear begins to creep in, but she keeps moving forward. Along the way, she spots a girl lying on the floor and blood splattered on the walls. Stolas screams when she sees a man nearby, bleeding heavily. She is overwhelmed by the horrifying scene and struggles to comprehend what is happening. Meanwhile, back at the entrance, Rosalit continues urging Stolas to bring in the second squad for added security. Ignoring this, Stolas ventures deeper into the dungeon, only to come face to face with a massive golem holding a weapon. Suddenly, chaos erupts and Stolas screams in terror. Sweat drips down her face as fear grips her. Procel, on the other hand, remains calm. He can feel Stolas' fear and despair flowing through the dungeon and into him. Tenko tries to ask him something, but he brushes it off, stating that it is nothing. He assures her that their turn is coming soon. The scene shifts to a demon lying on the floor with its mouth open, bleeding heavily. Stolas is already frightened when someone abruptly claps. The sound startles her, and she hears a voice informing her that she has passed. Stolas then begins to reflect, sharing her story. She reveals that under the Demon King of Dragons, Astaros, she was born as the Demon King of Wind. In the beginning, she didn't know her left from her right, often feeling lost and wanting to run away. Her contracted demons supported her during those tough times, giving her strength. She aspired to be someone they could be proud of, someone who never loses and becomes a great demon king for their sake. That was the path she chose. However, she now realizes that her approach to this battle was completely wrong. She had relied on high-power attacks and believed she could overwhelm Procel with sheer numbers. This is why she sent almost her entire army to attack. Now, they have been completely annihilated. She bitterly acknowledges that if things had been like this before the war started, her odds of winning would have been even lower than Procel's. In her frustration, Stolas questions Astaros, asking why she is being humiliated by someone who brings low-level monsters like skeletons. Astaros responds by discussing her dungeon, which includes a gorge, a maze filled with pitfall traps, and a lava zone, a map designed to exploit the mobility and flight capabilities of her demons. However, Stolas interrupts, clarifying that this is not the point she is trying to make. Astaros then encourages her to do her best, regardless of whether the result is a win or a loss. He reminds her that every experience, no matter how difficult, will contribute to her growth. She realizes that Astaros is talking like she is going to lose, and she just thinks of taking Astaros' words more seriously. But she accepts that it is too late. She keeps thinking that everything is too late, and she faints right there. She murmurs something to Rosalit about her contracted demons. She talks about the dungeon also. Rosalit tells her that she hears Stolas' scream and gathers everyone there. The Demon King of Creation, Procel, starts his advance. That is why they take Stolas out of the dungeon. When they do, they also catch a glimpse of the threat of that floor. There is no other description but to say that it is a nightmare. That first floor is probably the Demon King of Creation's ace, and as long as they can clear that floor, Rosalit sees a chance at victory. She then suggests that instead of the copies, if the real ones go in, they will be able to get through. But Stolas immediately denies this. Rosalit further asks her if there is any other way. Stolas goes quiet, so Rosalit calms her down. She tells her that anything lost in this war is coming back. Then she encourages her to scare Procel as hell. She tries to bring her on track, so she asks if she is not the future Great Demon King. Stolas sobs. She rubs her eyes and wipes off her tears. She turns back and states that, as expected from her contracted demons, her demons' lives are in her hands, and she is not ready to just watch her friends die. Although it is only a small chance, she reveals that she has thought of a way. that steel pipe, the accuracy of an attack from above is not as high. She further explains that although just because it is not as high, it does not mean that it is safe. Rosalit continues that this does not change the fact that it is far away through, with which Stolas agrees. With that, she tells them this is the formation she has thought of. Moreover, she elaborates that the copy and the real Masamune, the demon who is with Stolas and Rosalit, will make a defensive wall of wind and block the attack. Behind that, the copy and the real Phobos will run through with high speed. The copy of Phobos is a decoy. She shows her position where she will be and declares that Rosalit will cast strengthening magic from the very back. She also shows that the farther one is in the front, the lower the chances of surviving become. After this explanation, Rosalit tells her that she has made her resolve, and now they are ready for the fallen comrades too. They decide to go right through the enemy's cowardly trap from the front. They see the golem standing with the weapons, so Stolas gives the command to Masamune to make a wall of wind, and Rosalit to strengthen the magic of everyone. Everyone does what they are told. Stolas sends in the demons guarding her dungeon as a decoy, while it tries to decide which to close in. Stolas notices a destruction behind. She is amazed to see the ground as they even have that kind of trap. She feels it is not good, and realizes that now, because all the decoy troops are killed, their aim will be concentrated on them. Stolas loses courage, so Masamune stands there with her to protect with his wall of wind. When he uses it, Stolas is astonished to see that the wall of wind has no use. Masamune still does not stop, and he keeps going with the hope that they have closed up so they can make it. As a result, he gets trapped, and as soon as Stolas gets it, she immediately stops Phobos and Rosalit. She realizes that there is yellow air poison there. Masamune is also gone, but with his last strength, the poison is cleared. It seems that she is struggling so much. Because they stop moving, they cannot fully dodge. Rosalit suddenly jumps, wishing Stolas luck because they leave the rest to her. Stolas comes inside another room. Masamune and Rosalit are already gone, and after that, Stolas seems quite frightened. It is the nightmare of the first area. The only one left with Stolas now is Phobos. There are all 3 floors there, and that is where her heart breaks when she sees Procel and the team. Procel wonders to see Stolas there. He states to her that someone like her, who has an easy head to get inside, would make the demons protecting her dungeon attack his demons in dungeon, and because of that, it is easy to get through. But he further adds that all her emotions have flowed into him, like her love for her comrades and the sadness of losing them. He announces that the battle is finished, and now he is ready to destroy the crystal, because once it is finished, everything will come back. Stolas warns him not to mess with her. She yells that her friends are slaughtered. She claims that she will not lose so easily. She takes out the dragon medal, which boosts all abilities and adds an uncontrollable berserk mode. She declares that along with her crazy ace, she will win against Procel and compensate for everyone's death. Just then, the emerald dragon synthesizes. Stolas, full of anger, declares that this is going to be the genuine final battle. Outside the dungeon, everyone watches the war on the screen. The Demon King of Wind, Stolas, shows her trump card. Everyone comments that Procel and the Real also have some pretty demons, but they do not know who will win. The emerald dragon that Stolas creates is a jade dragon made by combining the wind metal and the dragon metal, one of the strongest metals. The power is gained through berserk in exchange for intellect. It is said that it can even surpass S-ranked demons. Tenko seems a bit nervous, but Procel reminds her that he has already told her what the plan is. He then commands to commence combat. He also gets the gun to shoot. L shows Procel the weapon, stating that it is not working. However, Tenko tells him that there are 2 conditions for victory in war. Either defeat the Demon King, or destroy the crystal that is their source of power. She suggests that there is no need to go against the demon directly. All of a sudden, Tenko informs Procel that Stolas has disappeared. She creates an uncontrollable demon, so it is very obvious that she would not stay in the same place. Additionally, the crystal is swallowed by the dragon while it is being created, so there are no other options other than defeating that dragon. Procel mugs up the courage and goes to fight the emerald dragon. But as a counterattack, the dragon also fights well. Thereafter, Tenko takes command to hit the dragon, but she is also thrown away in a single attack by that dragon. Elle gets mad. She cannot understand what is going on as the attacks are not going through. Procel doubts if the dragon's scales are too strong. Tenko replies positively. She also notices that it is wearing an armor of wind that substantially weakens the power of the bullets. Thereafter, Elle instructs Tenko to use the EO01S's true power. She guesses that the full auto shot might be able to help. Tenko confirms with her if she is sure. She replies that they will just be annihilated as it is, and then she leaves it to her. They do as they have to, but Procell does not know that it has a full auto function. Elle figures out that it is still in the development stage. It will break if it is used. That is why she does not want to use it, but it could probably penetrate the wind armor. When they again attack the dragon, Procell immediately notices that it is removing its own scales. In the very next moment, Tenko gets attacked by that dragon. Elle makes it clear that it makes a storm that carries its scales. Therefore, they cannot get close. Procell is out of his mind. He cannot get what they should do next. All of a sudden, Tenko falls on Procell. She asks him if he is okay. She then asks him to name her. After seeing whatever is happening, Elle declares that they cannot win like this. She is about to say, but she is stopped by Tenko. Afterwards, Tenko states that she made a promise to Procell in the beginning that he would give her a name once he could trust her, and it is not good if she cannot even defeat one lizard. She keeps quiet after saying all of that. In the war situation, Procell has to face all of this, which is quite frustrating. Further on, Marco tells Procell that he has to properly investigate who he chooses to become his contracted demon. Although demons are normally absolutely obedient to the Demon King, the demons are not stupid either. In actuality, Marco discloses that she has seen many Demon Kings being framed by their contracted demons and their positions being reversed. Furthermore, she adds that the Tenkos are intelligent demons. Now Procell has to identify if he can truly trust them. Procell feels the pressure then, so he agrees that he will not hesitate anymore. And in the very next moment, he calls Quina, which is Tenko's name. He announces that she is going to be his first contracted demon. Quina turns back, emotional toward Procell. Thereafter, Procell encourages her to show him that the one he puts trust in and his first friend is the best demon. Quina is filled with enthusiasm. She is all ready to have the real deal from there. Quina is so determined, and she also gets the command from Procell to go. She heads out. Contracted demons are the Demon King's ace. Demon Kings can grant names to demons, which in return give the demons a large amount of power. Quina's transformation ability is powered up through the Demon King's powers, and by obtaining more power than the Emerald Dragon, she grows into her adult form. Quina is sorry and thankful to Elle. She then moves ahead with her weapon to face the Emerald Dragon. She shoots bullets at the Emerald Dragon, and in a few moments, she successfully defeats him. Everyone remains surprised to see this. After defeating the dragon, Quina performs a little of her golden dance, and the conclusive announcement is made that the winner is the Demon King of Creation, Procell. The guys outside the screen are all cheering, but inside the dungeon, Procell still seems like he cannot believe it yet. Marco instantly hugs him to praise him for the great job. Procell feels a bit uncomfortable in front of everyone being hugged by her like that. He also clarifies that it is not only because of his power that they won. He gives credit to Quina and Elle as well, and along with them, he also thanks the person who supported him the entire time, Marco. Showing off, Marco states that she is so hot that she is starting to sweat from all that. She decides to go feel the night breeze, so she tells Quina and Elle to get along. Thereafter, Procell suddenly notices Stolas there. Stolas is back because the Demon King of Time brings them all back. Rosalit tries to keep Stolas away from Procell, so she tells her to come with her, but Stolas insists on having a word with Procell. She, in her attitude, talks about the evening party and apologizes to Procell. He also apologizes to her because he looked down on her. He tells her that he did not think she would break through that first floor after seeing it with her own eyes. And he also praises her dragon that brought chills. He further adds that she should be proud of all of them. Plus, he is so impressed with that despair he felt from her, who treated their demons like friends. He exclaims happily that he is glad she is his first opponent. Moreover, he also proposes to be friends with her. Stolas also feels that Procell is actually a nice guy, and she cannot help but finally apologize for making fun of him. She also expresses how glad she is that her first defeat is at his hands. They shake hands as a gesture of the commencement of a new friendship. Stolas states that she is happy she can make a friend like him. Astaros also appears there. He thanks Procell as well. Having felt defeat, he is sure his daughter will grow even further. Moreover, as thanks, he decides to give the original dragon medal and a pigeon demon so they can send letters to each other. Stolas also decides to give the original wind medal, claiming that she will write a lot of letters, since Procell is worried about what will happen at the evening party. Now that it is over, he feels it was a great experience. After that, Astera states to Procell that to be able to be involved with a demon king like him, Marco must be proud as it is her last job. Procell wonders about the last job. It seems like he has not heard of it yet, so Asteros discloses to him that a demon king's lifespan is 300 years. Once the 300 years are up, they vanish without question. Every 10 years, when the new demon kings are born on the same day, the nurturing of the new kings is given to the demon king who does not have much time left. After knowing all of this, Procell calls Marco in a very rude voice. Marco comes to him, worried. She asks him what is wrong because he is not like the person who raises their voice. Procell questions her why she did not say anything about her lifespan. She tells him the reason is that he has not asked her about it. Procell then asks her if she is really going to disappear even though she is so healthy. She tells him that it does not matter. Once the lifespan is reached, they are finished. She expresses how glad she is that her final job is being Procell's parent, and it looks to her like she can disappear without worry. But she remembers that she still has not heard what his dungeon will be. Further on, she asks him if he has grasped any ideas during the evening party. Procell understands there that the dungeon he is going to make will be a city. He discloses that he has been thinking of a dungeon that does not hurt any of his friends, but that is not enough. He adds that seeing someone's despair of losing their important friends, the sadness of losing his important friends, all those feelings, makes it clear that he does not want them. That is why he declares that the dungeon he will make will be a city. Instead of having despair and sadness, it will be happiness and hope as the source. He asks if the dungeon uses feelings as a source, if this is not fine too. Marco is pretty impressed with that idea. She does not even expect that at all. She again states that she is so glad her last job is to be Procell's parent, and with his remaining life, she decides to watch over him nice and slow. Procell has now become the demon king of town planning. To not hurt his friends, wishing for happiness instead of despair, the demon king of creation chooses to make a city instead of a dungeon. The task has started now. Procell is working on the city. Just then, Marco comes and asks him how the city making is coming along. He shows her and doubtfully asks her if it looks like it is good. He is borrowing Marco's library and researching things, but there are pointers on how to make a dungeon, but nothing about how to make a city. He does not even know where to make the city. It is a library made by collecting books written by demon kings. He has not looked through everything, but it would help out a lot if Elle and Kina helped him. Kina, instead of helping, is resting on the desk as she does not want to. Elle is so up for helping if it has to do with weapons. They then get an idea of checking it directly. With that, they head to have a view of the city. Quina wonders at how big it is. Elle also comments that she did not think that Ecumen's city is this big. Procell introduces the city. It is a commercial city, a clava with a scale of about 100 people. Moreover, it is the biggest city around there. Procell excitedly states that it looks like it will be a nice reference material, so he hurries ahead. As soon as they try to enter the city, they get attacked and thrown back. There, Procell realizes that it is expected when someone tries to bring a demon inside a human city, as the dwarves are supposed to be rooted as one of the tribes. Just then, Procell remembers getting some clothes for disguise from Marco. That is why he decides to wear them and enter from a different entrance. But there is still a problem that Quina has the ears and tail, for which Procell initially feels that they cannot do anything about, but he then gets an idea of transforming her. The three of them are now good to go inside the city. Procell seems very excited. He is amazed to see the city from the inside. He also asks the two of them their opinions, but they are having their own things. Quina asks Elle, since there are so many humans, what they should do or if they should crush them. Elle eagerly wants to wipe them out with the gun she is holding. After getting her reply, Quina wonders why she is suddenly full of killing intent. Elle tells the reason, looking at humans makes her impulsive. After seeing their behavior, Procell realizes that he should have left them back home. In the spur of the moment, two big guys bump into Elle and Quina. One of them offers to go out to eat something nice. He is showing off that they can afford some since they just went to the dungeon to earn money. Before they can do anything, Procell interrupts, saying that they are his company. Those two guys are such brats. They are so shameless that they are talking trash about their bodies. Quina is so furious that she asks Procel if they should crush them. He replies that he is also feeling the same, but he stops her. Just then, Procel notices those guys' outfits, which remind him of adventurers, and they also say that they have earned in a dungeon. He then notices that there are a lot of similar guys around. On the other hand, Elle is regretting that every single weapon is full. She is feeling bad for the ore. The three of them then stop by a shop where Procel buys something to eat. The shopkeeper tells him about those guys, saying they are going to the Demon King of Time's dungeon, which is in the direction of the north of there. Procel is amazed to hear about the Demon King of Time. He then remembers that it is the person who revived those that died in the evening party, but he has not seen what he looks like. The shopkeeper then tells Procel about the Demon King of Time, saying that if it is stated to control time, it is one of the strongest demon kings. Its dungeon is of high difficulty and impregnable, but one can get a lot of treasures. Adventurers gather around aiming for those treasures, and merchants aiming for the adventurers come out, and so this city grows huge. It is all thanks to the Demon King of Time. Procel thinks they have come close, and now he asks Elle and Quina to go. After some time, as they start heading ahead, Elle and Quina have a conversation about having a war with the Demon King of Time. But Procel clarifies that he is not going to be unreasonable to the strongest Demon King. He also reminds them that they are there to build the city. He further adds that they were taken care of during the evening party, so he decides just to greet and go. He makes it clear that there is no downside to establishing friendships. Since they have been walking for a long time, they find a place to rest. The Demon King of Time's dungeon is too far as it is about 80 kilometers away. Until now, everyone's legs have given up. It looks like there are a lot of other adventurers camping out. Seeing them, Procel also gets an idea to camp out using the creation of a tent. He is about to create it, but he again remembers the Demon King of Time's dungeon without any equipment. From behind, a cart approaches Procel. A guy sitting inside asks him to buy something. Procel asks if he is a merchant. The guy replies that he is someone from the best and biggest commercial firm in Iklaba, the Kurturdu Company. He further discloses about himself that he is mainly responsible for selling to those heading towards the Demon King of Time's dungeon. Procel looks at one of the items, but it is pretty pricey. He says to the merchant that in the city, it is less than half the price of that. The merchant agrees with him, explaining that it also involves travel fees, escort fees, and other costs, which are added on top. Procel loses the argument. Meanwhile, the merchant claims that adventurers have no choice but to buy because getting injured in the dungeon without any supplies, if they do not heal quickly, they could lose their life. The guy tells Procel that even if he tries to get back to the city, it is 80 kilometers one way, and there are times when demons appear along the way. The guy scares him, saying how far can he go with an injured body? He is trying to convince Procel to purchase from him. For that, he further adds that life is much heavier than money. When one balances life or money, it is much easier. After listening to all his techniques to sell his stuff, Procel finds him very greedy. The guy then requests him to acknowledge that they are meeting their needs and adds that it would have been a different story if there were another city between the dungeon and Iklaba. Procel concludes their conversation, and the guy continues to favor the Kurturdu Company. On the very next day, they arrive at the Demon King of Time, Dentalion's dungeon. Quina remains astonished to see that the dungeon is huge. On their way, Procel passes by other merchants as well. It seems like everyone has the same idea. Moving ahead, they prepare to enter the dungeon. As soon as they enter, there are a lot of people with their weapons. The area is so crowded. At this point, Procel doubts that there may be more density here than in the city. He finds this quite difficult to go through. More than that, Quina reminds him that he stated he was going to meet the Demon King of Time, but now he seems like he is planning to complete the dungeon normally. Procel realizes he had not thought this through. Thereafter, Quina says that this dungeon has over 100 floors, which seems a bit too hard. All of a sudden, the people having a battle there stop. Procel is shocked to see this and cannot understand what is going on. Just then, a voice speaks, saying that he has heard from Marco that Procel would probably look for him, so he invited him while time has stopped. There, Procel understands that this is the Demon King of Time, Dentalion. This Demon King of Time is one of the strongest demon kings. Dentalion tells Procel that he remembers him well. He is the new Demon King that puts on a show at the evening party. He then asks him what he is there for, as he guesses that he does not look like he wants to be hostile. Procel replies that he is close by, so he thinks he would say hello and give his thanks for the evening party. Dentalian feels it is nice. He states that he does not dislike polite kids. Furthermore, he states that after that party, new demon kings like him are officially given permission by the creator to make dungeons and participate in wars, or perhaps duty is imposed. So he asks Procel if he has decided on what and where the dungeon will be. Before Procel answers, Quina replies that they are looking around for just that. But Procel makes her quiet, and he himself tells Dentalian that he has already chosen where to make the dungeon. He reveals that his dungeon will be between the commercial city of Iklaba and the dungeon of Dentalian, the demon king of time. Dentalian takes a moment to think. He then tells Procel that the adventurers from Iklaba are his main customers, which makes Iklaba his territory. To make a dungeon on the road from there, he asks him if that means he is trying to go against him. Quina loses her patience and she speaks up, but Dentalian stops time and appears behind them. Procel again stops her. He clarifies to Dentalian that it is a misunderstanding. He changes his statement and tells that he will not harm his prophet because the dungeon he will make will be a city. Dentalian relaxes Procel by telling that he is just kidding. He also tells her that Marco contacts him beforehand, so he already knows this. Procel is surprised with this news, so Dentalian explains to him that Marco and he are from the same year. She tells that an upright guy like him will most likely come to greet. Furthermore, he gives Procel the permission to do what he would like to, because if it is a city, there should not be any dispute over adventurers. Procel is thankful for him. Just then, he again interrupts and states that he will have compensation as Procel is trying to gain profit inside his territory. As compensation, Dentalian asks for Procel's creation medal. He finds very interesting having characteristics like no other. This medal is a key to creating S-ranked demons. Since Procel gathers a lot of attention during the party, and there are many who want to know the secret of his medal and weapons, so Dentalian tells him to be cautious. Thereafter, Dentalian puts the option before Procel that if he does not like it, there is nothing much but for him, he will have to go to another place. Procel takes a pause for a moment. He then presents the creation medal in front of Dentalian. Meanwhile, Quina reconfirms with him if he is sure, but it seems that he has made his decision. He states that it will not be wise to get into trouble right then, plus his city will benefit Dentalian as well. He further adds that if Dentalian understands that, he could even become. Quina then has another question that it might be dangerous. Procel indeed agrees with her, but there is also a rule that the senior demon kings cannot do anything to the new demon kings until the new demons are officially mature. Additionally, if Dentalian is in the same year as Marco, by the time Procel and others are officially mature, his lifespan will be completed, which basically means that the risk of them opposing each other should be pretty low. Quina expects the same from Procel, what he thinks. After that, Procel confirms with Dentalian that it looks like it's a deal, but he still has a doubt that why does Dentalian act like that if he is contacted by Marco beforehand? Dentalian gives him the dead stare and tells the reason that it is frustrating. Procel gets scared by the way Dentalian is talking. Afterwards, Dentalian shouts that if Marco is his parent, then that means he is beside her all the time while also living under the same roof, which is a great, amazing thing, and he is jealous of him because she is right next to him. He is sure that it is like paradise every day for Procel to be with Marco. Procel screams out of fear that it is too scary. He then guesses tremblingly that he perhaps likes Marco. Dentalian gets quiet. He then states sadly that he has not even been allowed to hold her hand. Moreover, he asks Procel if he has slept with Marco. Procel instantly refuses and makes it clear that they both are not in that kind of relationship. Dentalian is calm now as he has the misunderstanding, because when he gets the message, Marco keeps talking about Procel so happily, that is why he thinks she is in a relationship with him. On the other side, Procel contemplates that he should keep quiet about seeing her walking around naked a lot, otherwise Dentalian will kill him if he finds out so. Procel then states that if that is the case of liking and all, he could tell Marco about this nicely. Dentalian is so surprised with this, and within no time he decides to give him his time medal and a water medal, because according to him, it is not fair to just have his medal. Thereafter, Procel asks him if his creation medal is not compensation for the city building. He replies that it is a gift to cheer him on from his tender heart. Also with that, he tells Procel to say hello to Marco from his side. As the result of those conversations, Procel has made an ally as well as permission to build the city. But before they leave, since he says that he is going to make a city between Dentalion's dungeon and Iklaba, Dentalion asks if he is sure that he is going to make a city in that place. In the next scene, the three of them come out of Dentalion's dungeon and their minds are blown away. When they are checking out the place, it is all poisonous. They do not notice when they go by the previous day because it is dark, but now they can see that it is a poisonous swamp around there. In Quena's opinion, there is no way they can build a city there. Procel replies to her that making a dungeon means overriding the certain area, so wouldn't it be fine? He explains that a city will always be affected by the surrounding environment, so it is no use if the very basic environment is not powered no matter how many times he overwrites it. Moreover, there is no wonder that there is nothing on the way, even though his traffic is high. Quena then asks him if what he is going to do, like will he find a different place? Procel clearly denies that idea. He declares that he would like it to be here if possible. They feel it the previous day, but the distance from Iklaba to the dungeon is huge. He has got some plan, so he discusses that if they make a city in the midpoint of the two places, inns for adventurers who will be heading to the dungeon will be a definite, but as a supply area for tired adventurers, it could also attract customers to use as a foothold. Procel is sure it must be troublesome for adventurers to carry back the treasures they get from the dungeon for 80 kilometers, so he also thinks that it will develop as a market for trading those treasures. In time, he has an idea to sell specialty products too, but for now, he puts that aside. The merchant they meet the previous day is also talking about how a city being there will help, so Procel concludes that it is the right choice to build a city there. But for them to stumble on the very first step, if it is just the geology, Procel can do something about it with his administration over the earth. But then there is a problem of air and water. He further thinks that if water is the matter, then they can use the water metal they just get from the Demon King of Time, and he has thought of that, but there is still the problem of the air and the vegetation that is naturally growing there. He gets that they need something more all-inclusive that can administer the nature. Just then, a bird comes with a letter. It is a communication demon for Stolas, as she is saying that she will write a paper. Procel opens the letter in which Stolas asks about how are the things after the evening party. She has asked about Procel if he is going well. Moreover, she has written in the letter that she has made a new demon using the metal Procel gives her, although Astaros has his hands on his head about savings and whatnot. But she also has asked Procel if he has made any demons using her metal along with this. She has threatened him not to dare waste it. From that letter, Procel gets the idea that he can use the wind metal for air he gets from Stolas. This is not enough in the letter. Stolas also informs him that there are other new demon kings who feel the threat from Procel's strength during the evening party who are joining forces, and she also gets an invitation, so she tells him to be careful. After that, Procel and others start to build the city. They use the different metals like synthesize, wind, create, imitate human. Procel ponders that wind is not enough, and he needs something with more nature, a demon with the power of the stars, so he creates one. As a result, in a very few moments, an ancient elf appears. She is a demon who is specialized in nature, and with that, Procel is hoping that the big problems should be solved. He is then about to have a word with Elf, but she gets attracted to Elle and Quena. She is squeezing their cheeks and states that she wants to eat them. Procel realizes that he has made another unique one. Besides, he asks to listen to him. So Elf tells him not to worry, and she is ready to work together to get this done in one go. She uses her skills, purify and improve, and in an instant the city's foundation is ready to see which everyone remains wondered. The scene then shifts inside Marco's dungeon. Marco comes there to Procel, and she tells him that she hears from Dentalion that he is making a city near Dentalion's dungeon. She is surprised that he does not cause any trouble. Procel replies that it gives him the chills, but he also mentions that the place he has chosen is perfect to build the best city. He explains that at first he thinks it is just a joke, but he is glad now that it is going well. He tells her that he has only just decided on a location. Marco then asks him if he is leaving her dungeon that day, to which he replies positively and also states that he is getting help from Quina and Elle as well. He says the city building is still no different from a Demon King's dungeon, so the things he has to do are similar to normal dungeons. If it is to be elaborate, a crystal is given to each of the new Demon Kings by the creator after the evening party, and they need to set that up in the deepest part of their dungeons. Once they set up their crystal, they cannot move it, which means that once a Demon King starts making their dungeon, they cannot move away from that location, since there is no guarantee that no one will attack when they are out. Procel is talking especially for himself since he stands out during the evening party, although he is sure it will not happen if he makes and develops a strong defensive dungeon. Marco gets that, so she confirms that it is his time to leave the nest as well. She knows that he has to, but still, she states that it is going to be lonely. Besides that, she asks about the thing, a box placed behind, if it belongs to Dantalion. Procel replies positively. He tells her that it is inside the gift set he gets. He guesses that this thing is probably for surveillance, as he is making a dungeon in his territory, so he is sure that he will do at least that much. However, he decides to let it do its thing, and inversely. He is sure that he can make him understand that he is not a threat through it, although Procel mentions that he will still hide some things that he wants to keep secret. Marco also agrees with it. She thinks that it will be useful in teleporting as well, so she suggests that while he is at it, he should also make a teleportation circle in her dungeon as well, since it will be easier to come to hang out that way. And he can come every day if he wants to, but Procel has other thoughts. There will be no use in him leaving if he does so. Just then, Quina and Elle interrupt that they have their things ready, along with rounding up all the golems that are mining the dungeon. Thereafter, Procel needs to be off from there. Before leaving, Marco states that she would have liked to give a present since he is going to leave, but she says that the parent role Demon Kings are limited on what they can give, so she is sorry about that. Procel is all okay with that because he receives a lot of things from her, so he thinks that it is his turn. He creates a beautiful jewel for her. She likes this so much. Even she has never seen this type of jewel. So Procel tells her that the jewel is called a diamond, and it is stated that it endlessly emits glisters. He claims that their bond will not change, and he will never forget her favor, just like that diamond. To see that much love, Marco gets quite emotional, and for her to cry, it has been over a century. Procel is so happy that she likes it. Thereafter, Marco states that she knows she cannot give him anything physically, so she has thought of the perfect present. She comes closer to his lips and gives him a kiss. Marco further asks Procel, but Procel remembers how jealous Dantalion is of him. In the very next moment, Marco makes Procel lay down on the bed and asks if he wants her to continue. Marco is about to come closer to him just then, and they get interrupted by Elle and Quina again, so they rush to get back. Procel is happy for the invite, but he has to decline as he needs to go soon. Marco agrees with her since it is not good to keep them waiting for too long. Procel collects his stuff and sees Marco off with the message that once his city develops, he will invite her. Marco is also expecting the same, and Procel rushes to catch up with Elle and Quina. Marco is in love with that jewel diamond. She is still thinking that to give a jewel that shines endlessly to her, who is going to disappear soon, is a bit harsh. The scene then shifts to the place of Procel's city building. The first step is to construct. Procel declares that he has decided for that place to become his dungeon. He puts the crystal, and now that area is set as his dungeon in that world. From there, it is the same as during the evening party. He uses magic to construct a 1-level 3-floor plan. Any more than that, and he will need to add more levels. The city will be built on the first floor since Elle and the ancient elf purify the land and the air, so Procel can just use flat land as its type and enlarge that to 10 kilometers on all sides. Procel has planned the second floor, and further will be for the resources to develop the city, as well as living space for them. Since the water source and produce can be covered by the first floor, Procel is ready to make his, and with that, they are done with the basics. Quina tells Procel the problem from then on is, although he can make a difficult and dangerous dungeon with the crystal, it cannot build houses or maintain infrastructure. Procel gets that this means the city building has to be done by them, therefore he asks all of them to lend him a hand. Quina excitedly raises her hands before anyone else. Hence, it is time to begin building their city. A few moments after leaving Marco's dungeon, they are working hard building the city, and now Procell has gotten pretty tired. That is why he asks everyone to have lunch. They all take a break for lunch and realize then that they do not have nearly enough people, even though they have Gollins and Procell summons demons to assist. Ik again asks Procell if he thinks that they have enough manpower right then. Procell states that the city he plans on building is on the first floor of the first level. The size is 10 kilometers, the largest he can set it to. There is no way they can do this by themselves, so they get as many demons as possible, like a Yuko for Quina, a dwarf smith for El, and a high elf for the ancient elf. Procell creates 2 compatible demons for each of them, but it is still not enough, which is not a good thing. Moreover, Procell does not have any dungeon points left to create more demons. He contemplates that if it is a normal dungeon, he can make whatever he wants to as long as he has the dungeon points, but it is a city and not a dungeon. So it is an exception. They have to build everything on their own. Procell feels it is harder than he expects, but he does not lose hope. He still has some ideas about how to deal with the manpower problem, which is the skeleton army, although they are put aside since they are difficult to control, but it seems like it does not work. Procell guesses that it is not great just having enough hands. Rather, they are going to slow them down. He thinks he still has some metals, but he is left with only 2, and both are imitations. He can synthesize them, but there is no point in having just 1 more. He has the death imitation metal from the evening party. Just before battling Stolas, he trades for the death imitation metal, and the other he is left with is a human imitation. He guesses that it is worth trying, similar to a skeleton. One that represents immortality is the death metal, and also that represents intelligence is the human imitation. He also thinks that he can spawn a demon that can command the skeletons. With the hope of doing everything right, Procell uses the synthesize, death imitation, and human imitation. As soon as he uses the metals, he gets scared from the thought that he cannot fully grasp or control this demon that is spawning. He is shivering to see that the reason he is able to spawn whatever demons he wants is because of his creation metal. He is not getting a good vibe since he does not know what kind of demon is going to be spawned. Moreover, there is also the chance of a demon he cannot handle spawning because of the human. But in all of this, there is a nice thing that if something like that happens, city building will be of his least worries. As a result of his metals, a demon comes out which looks no less than a skeleton. Before proceeding, Procell thinks of having at least a word with him.
So he decides to introduce himself, saying that he is the demon king of creation, and he would be. He says, "Nice to meet you," he's white, and he's a duke of the underworld. Then the protagonist realizes that he is pretty decent, and he is not a big cash prize in a lottery game. Even though he is a very low rank, he can sense real intelligence. The protagonist inquires if he can comprehend the languages of the skeletons, and wishes for that demon to command them, and assist us in the construction of the city. He responded that of course he can understand and communicate with them, and even share the memories of the low-level undead, then asks to demonstrate this. Consequently, he decides to form a team of acrobats. There were numerous skeletons atop a bicycle, and he stated, "That's how it is." The protagonist says that they do some extremely unexpected things. The skeleton looks back and is surprised, as there was a skeleton very beautiful in his eyes, and he says it was to look at how his tastes combine with the protagonist to make such a lovely and beautiful woman, and he says that she even has the beautiful name on top. The protagonist wonders if it's a woman, but whatever. By the way, the protagonist failed some weird things a while ago about building one city or another. He says yes, he is thinking about making a city where people can live happily instead of creating a dungeon to kill each other. It's different from how the normal demon works. But the skeleton is astonished, and he says that demons are different from normal living things that are born fully grown just by being pulled out of a book. In the beginning, they are prepared to start killing humans like in the dungeons, and the demon kings are created. So that reason why the dwarf and the fox felt like they were blood was because of that. At that moment, they felt they were of blood, then they were trained to kill humans. The skeleton continues, however, after being reborn many times under different orders. He began to remember the feeling of loneliness throughout the cycle that never ended. He read the protagonist's memories and says that he normally treated the skeletons as disposable. Well, he's a type of person, the protagonist thinks. That doesn't mean saying that he just let them be there since he didn't know what to do with them. The skeleton says that building a city is a wonderful idea. This must be the place they sought for all these battles, a safe place to live. Then, the skeleton goes on to say that he once again reposes loyalty to the protagonist, not because he is a demon king, but because he wholeheartedly acknowledged that he is a true king. He says he will help, and in the background was the fox watching the skeleton say he will work until his bones break. That wouldn't be funny. With the addition of the skeleton army, the city's development increased drastically. Not only because skeletons are useful, that skeleton king who was created has also learned about self-taught architecture and city building using the Book of Dwarves and other places, as well as establishing communication with other demons, such as the fox and the others. It has connected everyone and increased work efficiency considerably. He is like a second leader, and during this, when a golem digs one of the places, a flood comes out of there, and it was very hot. It was an onsen. At that moment, the protagonist decides to create an unexpected point of sale for the city, which were the spas. The protagonist says he thinks he needs to separate the men from the women too, and the skeleton gets all embarrassed, saying he has his own skeleton him in the middle of it. The city was reaching the final stage. Looking at that city from afar, the protagonist says that most of the city is already complete, all constructions were completed, and the infrastructure was also very complete. The cities are complete, and the fields have been blessed by the elves, and are now ready for candidates to begin moving in. Because of the hard work, the feelings have grown stronger too, and all that's left is to call some humans. The fox asks if they are really going to come. While they were building the city, they didn't even look in that direction, and it's because of the camouflage that let them only see the entrance. If they take off at the same time they open the city, they will notice, and they will go. So, since today is opening day, while you're there, you could have some food under that tree. In fact, when they began constructing the city, they planted a tree atop the hill overlooking the city, a primitive apple tree that was the name of the tree. At the onset of the city's construction, when he created an apple tree using his powers, he discovered that apples did not exist in that world, so he started cultivating them. This was the first one he planted. Along with the hot springs, they could be called the city's selling points, but for it to bear fruit, just a few days later, the elf had blessed it with all the power. Then an apple falls into the protagonist's hands, and he bites into it. It's sweet, juicy, as if it were his fatigue leaving and lifting his energy. So that would be the power of an ancient elf. He decides to give one of these apples to the fox, who eats it and is also very happy. The dwarf and the elf do the same thing. The fox would never forget that taste, and no one would. The protagonist says he is confident that the city will be a success. So it was time to complete the final tasks, as they would be opening the city the next day. She inquires if he has already chosen a name for the city. The protagonist affirms, stating that the City of Hope and Smiles is named Avalon. The following morning, a random group of adventurers arrived. As they approached, one of them declared it was finished, and that he could leave without him. Another urged to hold on and try to walk, while the girl admitted that, to be honest, they had completely underestimated the Time Demon King's tower and cursed that demon despite his appearance. The boy says he should leave the complaints for later. Meanwhile, the other woman says, "That's right. At this rate, their supplies will run out before they reach the main city, so they would need to find a place to rest." Then she looks and notices that there is a city around it. She wonders if there was before, and in the store in that town there was the fox, who says that they would need all the help they could get. There is no way to solve all this alone, and Daddy was an idiot because she was working as an employee at the store. The man realizes it's a child and asks if that would work. She seems a little nervous and if she would be okay. The woman says that she is blooming very well. Meanwhile, the other little girl who was working also asks if they would like some potatoes as a request, and they notice that the girl is responding exactly like a textbook. The protagonist was walking in the middle of the city and says that it was now noon since they opened the city, but there were a lot of people, just as expected. It felt like this place was really the right one. He wondered what the adventurers' assessments were like, and whether they had confidence in the services of the demons that were there, despite it looking like there were few employees. He heard someone from afar say that it was incredible that the water was very good, as if they were thirsty. The boy was eating a fruit, which was an apple, and asked what fruit it was. It was not only tasty, but it got rid of all his fatigue. The other girl says that bread was amazing. She could taste the sweetness of the flour and had never tasted such good bread in her life. The man says that that sword he bought there was only 2 gold coins, although it was made of mithril, and it was to look very well as it shines, although he is blind. They only spent 4 gold coins. The woman asks if he saw the sword that was on display in front of the store. The man says yes, but he doesn't think it's for sale. It was just an item that could be described as made by the gods. Apparently, a dwarf who lives there made it, and if you're not mistaken, there was a workshop that repaired equipment, and it can even be made to order as well. The man asks if that is a city of dwarves, but there were human employees in the store and an elf as well, and asks what kind of city it was. The protagonist approaches and explains that he has created the city as a place for humans and demons to coexist, thanking them for visiting the city that day. He introduces himself as the owner of the city and apologizes for eavesdropping, but mentions that their conversation revealed them to be adventurers who could help in popularizing the city. Consequently, the protagonist offers to give them a tour. Upon their acceptance, the first stop he makes is at an inn, which people find very beautiful. The protagonist comments that some of the designs are unfamiliar to him, but he also finds them very attractive. Then that skeleton approaches and he says he is the master of that inn. The girl is scared and says he is very big, while the man is just impressed. In that guest house, they offer both private rooms and large rooms. The private room where a maximum of 4 people can fit for 2 silver coins. The big room is 1 silver coin per person. Whatever he chooses, they also offer a blanket for rent. However, both plans are just stays without meals. That place also offers a free well to use as an internal garden as well as a spa. The boy in the background asks what those 2 girls knew about the spa, as they were very happy when they heard that name, and they say that you bathe in hot water and it's very good. Taking a shower whenever you want is like a dream. The girl says that she really loves that city, and that they were planning on going back to the main city, but using that place as a base would be very interesting. The man says he agrees it's a great city, but if they don't go back to the main city, the stock won't move. The protagonist says he understands for those who want to stay longer, but they need to be away from any adventurers. That he can make money in a short time, the protagonist says that he had thought about the people who moved, but he didn't think about those. While he was thinking about this, the fox comes out of the wall and screams for the protagonist, looking more tired than usual, more than when he fought the Esmeralda dragon. She says she has a lot of customers, and she can't expel them with Anna's answer manual. She asks the protagonist to make more subordinate demons, and the protagonist tells her not to say things like that which could expose him as a demon king. Another one of the girls heard. The protagonist thinks they are in a bit of trouble, but they haven't accumulated enough dungeoneering points yet to create more demons, and the skeletons could shock a lot of people, so they are working in the basement. Since they don't have enough workers, why not hire those girls is what one of them says. She says she wanted to relax for at least one day, while the other one wonders why she would go too. They say it's about making money since they don't have any. The protagonist then remembers about part-time jobs offering 6 silver coins as payment per day. She says it's great, and now they won't have to go back to the main city. It seems like they could get over it for now. Then the protagonist asks the skeleton how the workforce is doing. He says that about the bakery that is disappearing, they are doing very well. They are the best in terms of numbers. By the way, he asks how the bakery's evaluation is going, and the protagonist says it's going very well. In any case, the start is better than expected. It is a relief for now. They can't be careless. More adventurers will come due to the rumors, and the city will be in more disorder, so they will have to increase the number of workers and demons very quickly, the protagonist thinks. However, eventually this approach will not suffice, as they will also struggle to maintain the quality of service. Thus, it is necessary to consider alternative strategies. If he were inclined towards greed, he would opt to employ a professional, specifically someone experienced in industrial services, and preferably a professional he can trust to manage the administration effectively and contribute to maintaining peace and order. If only they had a professional merchant to support them. Then the protagonist remembers that man who had helped him at the beginning. He was passing in front of the city, seeing that the rumors were right, and he actually realized that there is a city between the main city and the Wind Demon King's dungeon, the city that appeared 2 nights during the night. It appears to be thriving well, but he decides to do a quick inspection. The Demon King's city of creation, called Avalon, was where we were at that moment. Many adventurers had already arrived in the city, and they were all enjoying it a lot. Many of them were ordering swords and more, and were wondering how they had run out of stock. The 2 attendants were very scared, saying that it wasn't really over, but the new members had approached and asked everyone to form a single line, and that it's not cool to scare the children. The fox says that those hired humans were really very good, and they calmed down and helped in the workshop. Also because the dwarves have the temperament of artisans. So they tried to fix the problems with the customers. The dwarves' help says that the most important thing for the fox is her transformation ability. It would be okay, as she was told to stay in human form while she was in the city. She says that using this transformation ability is very uncomfortable, and that there is nothing to worry about, as no one would go to the place where they were at that moment. But someone did. The girl arrives and asks if there is any stock for the store. The two are very scared, and when she goes to use the transformation ability, it is already too late. But the woman is scared and says they are not human. Then they return to the store, asking if those store workers were actually human beings. The people inside ask about being human, and that ranking as a demon or something like that. The woman says that those over there are harmless, in fact. They were working hard, and another human female fox with a frilly outfit is very cute, and now that it has been mentioned, it could work. People were starting to understand, but in reality for the fox, they were just getting high. The woman says she just thought it would be unfair, since the dwarves and elves are normal, and they are not. Ask if there was any inconvenience. The fox becomes a sensation while the adventurers leave the store laughing at the situation. He says that since the city where humans and demons exist works better this way too. The two women who were recently hired say they always thought humans were dungeon food, but honestly see them with a new perspective. The fox is happy, as he had just been praised in a certain way, and the woman says that it was that decorative sword as a reward. They realize that her request is too brazen. The dwarf says it's like she always says that sword is not for sale. It is the greatest culmination of her work, and the very clone that was dedicated to her master is a customer magnet and could not be let go. The woman says it didn't work. She says if she had that sword, it would be so easy to complete the dungeons, and if she sold it, it would be enough to keep her around for life. The dwarf then asks why she asked for a reward even though she knew its value. The woman told everyone to stop playing around. The fox says it's okay if this is too much. At that moment, new adventurers arrived saying that they were ready for an adventure, that it was time to challenge the Tower of the Wind Demon King again, so they decide to go there now. The fox thinks that if she leaves now, it would be a problem, but the woman says that everything is fine now. As the stock was completely clean in the last few days, customers have been buying the boxes. They would be back in a few days, so they were to wait the fox and the ancient dwarf. Myself, that girl that woman thinks is super normal to be called each other using race. The fox says it must be, since her name is special and the dwarf is a little sad. Master King demons, they can name 3 demons and act as if they were contract demons, and one of them is a special one accepted by the master. She doesn't have the name yet. It's obvious that's why she doesn't have any big success like the fox during the evening group, and she doesn't have any kind of power. When will the day come when the protagonist will give her a name? She's a productive dwarf. It's her job. She doesn't do anything flashy, and she's always behind the scenes. It's fine that way if she could be useful to the protagonist. And at that moment, she arrives at the skeleton that had been created by the protagonist, and he says that he can listen if she has any concerns. When she goes to say that it's nothing, a mysterious man appears asking where the city lord is. So we go to the protagonist's house, who got scared and ended up throwing coffee in his face, saying that they could at least knock on the door since they came in with everything calling for him. They say that a merchant was in the city and wanted to talk to the protagonist.
Then they go to the living room of the protagonist's residence, where a man is welcomed and thanked for tidying up the place. His name is Kanana Kratrudo, a humble merchant from the main city. The protagonist says that he is very modest, and his company is the #1 trading company in the main city, a huge company known throughout the world. The protagonist looks to the side and realizes that the man there was the merchant he saw when they were heading towards the Tower of Whirlwind and Wind. He joined because the area was under his control, or possibly he is also a competent bodyguard. The man says that it's a good sofa, and not only that, but the items sold in the cities are things he's never seen before, and he asks where the protagonist got them. The protagonist replies that he is from a place in the Far East beyond the ocean, although he will have to hide the name of the place. These are things he brought from there. The skeleton watches the situation from afar, thinking that the beginning is going very smoothly. If it is an item from foreign cities, it can serve as an excuse for things never seen before, or those that are more advanced. They see that the protagonist has been working hard on negotiation countermeasures, and the skeleton has also put in a lot of effort. Now, everything is going very well. If you are a merchant who makes your base there, The items and people will increase sharply later. The city will be full of energy and growth. Furthermore, the Cretrudo company is a better partner than anyone. All you have to do is close that negotiation well. The protagonist says he has human blood inside him, so he grew up being persecuted. And after fleeing the village, he built that city with the help of those who have similar ideas. The man said that this is the reason why there are semi-human beings in the city. The protagonist says it was time to move on to the main theme. 9 times out of 10, he would have stated that he is coming here to do business, but he will initially say to sell wholesale items from that city abroad or share their secrets. These are the objectives. They are refusing. The protagonist realizes that their objective was to actually sell items unique to that city, as their faces are extremely contracted, and he had noticed this. The man says that is very rude. If it's a sword from there, they would buy it for triple the price, and if they are so confident, they could sell them for 5 times their original value in a different city. Or if the protagonist is willing to teach a manufacturing method, they would pay a gold coin for each sword sold. With this, their network could reach 1,000 times the sale. The protagonist would be feeling impertinent at that moment, but he responds by saying that his goal is to bring more people and develop that city, and that he has no plans to sell the items outside of that place. Instead, he will give full support to the man if he starts planning a business there, tax-free for beginners. The men are completely amazed at what they had just heard, as he had never heard anything like that. The management of the city would be covered by sales of local special bonds only for the help of the demons, is what the protagonist says. Furthermore, he must give a house for free to set up shop, and if he wants, he can add a golem in there too, since he will need more than 1 horse's worth of transportation power. The man thinks about the golem, but the protagonist responds by saying that all that is left now is for the company to develop the city, and the profits gained from this will be added as well. It's a great proposal to do all this with almost no resources. The protagonist says that he is supposed to accept it, and think of it as an excuse for not letting them stock the city's products. The protagonist thinks he has entered that man's mind, and he continues saying that they provided favorable conditions for traders. There can be no better news than this, although it is regrettable not being able to stock up on swords. But those conditions are not enough at that moment. The man is interrupted by the merchant who tells him to wait because he doesn't have to accept that man's conditions, as that city was very suspicious. The man tells the merchant not to express opinions about this, and just when the negotiations were about to end, the merchant asks about the negotiation, and he has not forgotten the blockade on wholesale sales of products from that city. There is nothing that can be done about that. The protagonist thinks that in the end, it is about business conversations that they are talking about, but he said that it is as he has said multiple times. When the protagonist is about to continue his speech, he is interrupted by the man speaking so as not to underestimate them. And if he decides with their subordinates, or perhaps by hiring adventurers, they can buy the products from these cities, and if possible, resell them to the main city as well as other cities. In fact, they have tried to do this a few times as an experiment, and also have some investigation into the resale rate, as well as analyzing the manufacturing method, and also some they bought in batches as well. With that, of course, there is no point in setting up shop in the middle of nowhere before we get to that. It is not possible to reconsider the facts. The man asks if the trader had already done that, and he said it was safe to go to the trading house. They wouldn't go down, it was more of a precaution. The protagonist thinks he has to calm down, and there are plans against that. Then he responds because the swords are still in low supply. They are planning to set a restriction for 1 sword per person. Any suspicious person would be listed as such, and measures to prevent sales to them would be put in place. Regarding the people and the man's research into the manufacturing method, the swords in that city are made by elves, dwarves, and plantations have the blessing of elves. It would not be easy to create a system like that. The merchant says he has that part too, and that's when things start to get suspicious. If demi-humans like elves and dwarves indeed also live on that continent, however, among those who look like demons there, those who belong to the high rankings only exist primarily within dungeons. Those there really are demons. That is the reason why they were thrown away when they went to the main city. You would have also mentioned golems as labor. It wasn't the protagonist to be stupid. Golems are demons that seek the lives of adventurers normally. They weren't supposed to be seen as labor, nor is there any way to see them like that. If you build a city for demi-humans because there is little human blood, there is still not a single person ranked as a demi-human in that place. At first glance, it is a peaceful city, but looking at it from another perspective, that city is a dungeon of a demon king. Who would be the real protagonist? At that moment, the protagonist is stunned by the things that had just been said and says that it would be very bad if he were discovered to be a demon lord, and that city became known as a dungeon. They will only see bad news even if they don't have definitive proof. It is the category of rumor that spreads easily, and everyone will believe it. That company would have the power to do this, and if it happens, the products will become treasures to loot, and the citizens will be recognized as demons who need to be defeated. The city will become a dungeon that takes lives, and as already defined, the crystal is impossible to restart another city in another place. The city, which gives them hope and happiness as a livelihood, will end up in ruins, the gentleman says. Which is why, from now on, they will only talk about business. Please, it was to accept direct to sell in lots, however. The price will be half the sales price. Even then, they would distribute 10 times the price and replace the markers. The protagonist thinks that they will go so far, and he thinks that he should ruin the city and endanger everyone's lives, or give in to the advantage that the merchants would gain. There are no good options to choose from at that moment. The two enter and ask for forgiveness for interrupting the negotiations. She decides to give him some suck, saying that it is Apple's sake, the city's specialty, and he should try it. The skeleton apologizes to her. He went on a mission and felt he wasn't in a good atmosphere. That helped, but what do you do from there? It would be a little sadder. The skeleton says that they are after the goods. The objective should not be to contribute to the city. They were speaking through each other's minds. The protagonist said that he is right. After all, it is just a negotiation, and what they are looking for is profit. Soon, the protagonist says that regarding the whole issue of selling in batches, once again, he would be refused. The merchant said everything would be fine, so perhaps a totally unfavorable situation. The protagonist said he doesn't care. He aims to make a city in which, in 1,000 years, they could live happily ever after, and if that can't be accomplished, all he has to do is move to another land. Of course, in the dungeon system, that would be completely impossible. So it's a black, actually. Would that be good for them if they got out of there? This would mean missing a major business opportunity. A city without tariffs is unimaginable anywhere else. Even more so, you are asking for the right to buy in bulk, even though you have researched the products. It is proof that they are not capable of producing an item of similar quality by themselves. This means that here is a compromise. Even if they cannot accept the sale in batches and specialties, they would turn a blind eye to the items that were produced by the immigrants who moved to that city. There would not be and would not be involved if there is someone who is learning the production method. Even the swords, if they take the lead and let the city grow, then let them decide what to do with the items produced by those who brought it. You think this would help with the city's growth? And they would gain ownership of a tax-free business site where they could invest to make huge profits. This looks good. The merchant then said yes, but it means that all doubt has been eliminated. There are also risks for him, and one more thing. It could show proof that they can trust the protagonist. He thinks about a test. They are at a point for what else they could show. The dwarf at that moment starts to run and grabs the sword that was on the storefront. The merchant notices the sword, which was not for sale. The dwarf says that, according to her, filled with all of her, she will give the sword to the man to believe in her master. And it was a wonderful sword. You can feel a lot of magic. It is also an item that can even be called a holy sword. The protagonist asks if she is sure and says yes. She is not as strong as the fox, so the least she could do was that. The man says that if they put it up for auction, it would be 10,000 gold coins. Enough to buy a castle that would be guaranteed. That place is slightly suspicious, but if you can keep it, that would be enough. Then the merchant gives the sword to the dwarf again and tells them to make them bring the expensive item there, apologizing. The man asks the merchant what he was doing, as they had just won a treasure, and the merchant said that it is not a good idea to become a miser with a client who could have a long relationship, but it was a notable who said that in the first place. That sword, if someone is capable of wielding it, could turn all the human fingers there into dust, and bringing it there as a demonstration of determination to make society flourish was an excuse for doubting the protagonist. You're honored that he understood. The merchant apologizes for interfering, and honestly, going back to the beginning, the contract terms are acceptable, and from now on, he is progressing hand in hand. You shake the protagonist's hand and the contract was made. Soon after they leave, the skeleton, the dwarf, and the protagonist sit on the couch, extremely tired. They say that it was extremely tiring. They were being shaken by the dark hair marker the whole time. The protagonist says he couldn't have done it alone, and thanks the two of them in particular. When he goes to say a name to the dwarf, he stops. He says that, in terms of determination, in the end, it was a turning point, and he is very grateful for that. He was grateful for a while, how to increase the average firepower during the night party. These preparations in the city's infrastructure were a major part of her efforts. Existence is something they need. I should have rewarded for achievements sooner. Now the protagonist would say something to her. His second hired demon, her name would be, at that moment, the fox arrives, saying, "Honey, I arrived today too." She would be tired and asks what happened, as the dwarf seemed very happy. She said that her name is not that anymore, that now her name would be Rorono. The demons approach, and everyone is very happy because the elf's name was very beautiful, and she said that she got it from her master and wanted to keep it with extreme affection. The elderly elf says she is jealous of both of them. It's lonely being the only one different. They both worked hard to have them, and the protagonist asks her what she would have done. She said that she had been doing some work in that city, and they had also had complaints about the elves, saying that they kill work by walking around the city frequently. One of the demons screams that she was harassed by this elf. She discovered that her objective was not just to stroll around while walking around. She would be dealing with some vagabonds who were targeting the riches of the cities, and we won't talk about that at that moment. The elf says that it is true that she worked as hard as the two of them, so when she does something that valiant to them was to give her the name, something like killing the opposing demon king. The protagonist says that she has some pretty dark things even though she doesn't look bad, but if she does something on that level, she'll start thinking about it, and she thinks that's a kind of promise. The fox said that there is no one who would start fighting the protagonist after seeing how strong he is during the dusk party, and that was as expected. The protagonist thinks that it is difficult to deal with the elderly elf, and that he cannot read her thoughts, as she is like the wind, but he is sure that deep down she is a good person. Meanwhile, a person approaches the skeleton and asks him about the case they talked about before, and he said he is ready. Meanwhile, the protagonist thinks that he works hard for everyone, starting with the bread, the things they sell there as consumables or food, leaving the skeleton army in charge of the kitchen and processing. He is still the knight in charge of administration and trust. He has blacksmiths from dwarves, foxes, and elves. Even though he is Demon King, he still does more than the protagonist. This would be an example that allows us to know who the true lord of the city is. Meanwhile, an adventurer approaches the skeleton, asking if he is the boss of the city and would like to talk to him about new immigrants. People would really be getting confused, although the protagonist hiding in the farthest place where the crystal is kept to deal with magical powers rightly doesn't help the confusion. It's probably his. The protagonist says that that's something he can't understand. He can't understand anything about that elf, even though she was supposedly created with the image and using the creation nettle. But the skeleton, who was born more by luck, became someone in whom you can trust him from the bottom of your heart and that you count on him. But the protagonist also feels sorry for him, as he works hard for the city, so hard that it feels like you're making him work too hard. If only he was able to create it with as much strength as the other three, he would probably be able to use his powers even more than they are now at their maximum. So the protagonist asks the skeleton if he would like to have a name and thinks he is perfect to be the last demon hired.